strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ. Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for
kind of animal? If that was years and years and years ago. Like, Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was back in.
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that will be joining me on our
defenses that she's had to have recently. You know, she's pulled people.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the RoundTable about tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just don't think it has to be.
I don't know what he think he sees or what he think he know. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, D-Style, you mentioned him versus Regis Prograis. I'd love, that sounds like a...
I don't need you, you know, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship.
Flat out, it's tough, and we call box, and we go to the end of the round, and then...
That would say, what do you mean by acting black? That's a fair question, but a participant of trash talk knows...
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now. And he ain't going to fight. I bet you anything. He's not going to fight somebody as good as John Ryder. Thanks to those joining us live. Those will be joining us on the archive. D-Style here. This is the 180th edition of the RoundTable. New day. Okay, on Mondays. That's where it's at now. You know what I mean? So, me joined, of course, by Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter. Check out the show every Sunday with Eric Rota. All right, Gail in the building from nyfights.com. Make sure you check out her content. Danny Glover, Fight Fan TV, how's it going? Make sure you check out his content as well. Dave from the Shoe Shine, check out his podcast as well. You'll be on tonight, Dave? Well, there you go. Check out his content tonight. And, of course, the one and the only Christine Lopez. All right. From In the Ring with Christine. Check out every Wednesday, Women Crushing It Wednesday with Nika and Crystal and all that good stuff. I almost forgot her name almost. Right?
Wow.
And, of course, this guy called D-Style. You could check him out if you want. You know what I mean? Let's go ahead and get this show on the road here. Okay. Speaking of the road, I hope we don't get a crash live on the air, but shout out to Ryan O'Hara. How's it going,
how's it going, dude?
How's it going, parked, right?
What?
I said you are parked, right? Right. Okay, but
I'm not parked. I'm at a red light getting ready to speed up, though. Maybe.
Eyes on the road.
Eyes on the road. But Ryan O'Hara from Yahoo Sports, shout out to him. In the building as well. But let's go ahead and get this show started. We're going to start with, I just want to kind of, not that I want to get this topic out of the way, but I kind of want to get out of the way. Jose Ramirez is going to be fighting Rances, Barthele, and Vergil Ortiz, and an exciting barn burner against Thomas Dulorme. April 27th, this Saturday. I heard there's going to be a good crowd out there. What does this card do for you? And what would you like to see next from its guy, Joe?
Wow. I'm not really excited about the card, as you can tell by my voice. Who would I like to see each guy fight next? I think a good fight for Vergil Ortiz would be Ramos. I think Ramos would be a good fight for him. And trying to think for maybe Ramirez. I wouldn't be surprised if Ramirez fought. I don't know, because a lot of guys are tied up right now, right? Mm-hmm. I would like to see him fight Teofimo Lopez at some point after Teofimo Lopez handles his business. That'd be a good fight because I know that's been mentioned a couple times. For whatever reason, it never got done. So I think he's due for a title shot. It's been long awaited.
Okay, man, Gail, how are you excited about this fight? Are you getting ready for these barn burner fights? I'm sure you are looking forward to it. But how do you feel about the card? And what do you like to see next from Jose Ramirez and Vergil Ortiz?
I'm glad to see Ramirez and Ortiz finally getting back in the ring, but I'm not looking at it as much more than a temperature check for both of them. I mean, where they're at, what's their status? Do they look sharp? Do they look rusty? You know, didn't we all just kind of shrug our shoulders and sigh when we saw Barthele and Dulorme, those war horses, being given a paycheck to come out against these guys? I mean, really, that's the best you could do? Well, hopefully Golden Boy has a little more budget now after the big win on the weekend. But this was all set up prior to that. That's probably all they had to pay for the purses. So, you know, we'll get over it. But I do want to see how those guys perform. And if they don't perform extremely well, yeah, they got some big problems. I'm not sure how dedicated Ramirez is to the sport. He's got a lot of outside interests. He's made good money. He lives somewhere where, you know, his money goes a little bit further than if he was living, you know, in a big metro area. Ortiz has just continued to struggle. I continue to be a little bit worried about him from a health aspect. So it's a temp check this weekend. And, you know, for the Fresno fans, they're great boxing fans. They do fill the venue there. It's going to be a sellout. So my respect to them. But I think we all need a rest anyway this weekend after Saturday night. So I'm all right with it.
All right. Christine, how's it going? I know you're probably going to fly out there to watch these fights. I mean, you're probably so excited, right? Bartholomew versus Jose Ramirez, Vergil Ortiz against Dulorme. This might be the fight of the year. You know what I mean? So what do you think of the fight card? And what's next for each guy here? What would you like to say?
So I'm with Joe and Gail. Like, I really think this is like a tune-up fight for both of them, which I think they both deserve. And am I excited about it? I mean, I love boxing, but no, I'm not. I just think that they need this, and they're going to put it on TV, and we're going to watch it because we love boxing. But there's so many other guys, but maybe later. I don't know. It's we got to see where they're at right now, because there's questions for me for both of them. But I am so glad to see Vergil like back in the ring. You know, I really am. And I'm hoping to God that he has a better nutritionist and better team around him that's going to help him get where he needs to go. But if you need a tune-up, that's fine. But I want to see something more from both of them. I mean, that's just me.
All right. Well, what would you like to see next from, like, let's say Vergil? Like, what? Let's say he looks good and he makes weight. He looks good in this fight. Well, what would you like to see next from him?
Well, I mean, there's at 147, Jose. He can fight him. You know, at 40, we can do Barrios. You know, depending on what he's gonna do. Conor Ben. You know, Anton Russell. If he's going 40, 47, like, I don't know. Like, is he gonna stay where he's at? What is he gonna do? I don't know. It's just.
Well, I think Vergil's gonna stay at 154 minimum. I think.
Oh, 54. Well, shit, 54. I don't know.
Crawford, you want to see him in the ring with Crawford?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Put him in with one of the old war horses. Put him in against Tony Harrison, somebody of that nature.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what? Something like that, yes. But somebody that's there now, 154, no. Yeah, but I think Tony. But then he has a tune-up this week. Well, coming up, whenever his fight is.
And
for the next one, like, I think so. I don't think that Dulorme is gonna give him any problems. I don't.
Okay.
I don't. Maybe the weight's gonna be a problem for Vergil, but Dulorme in the ring, I don't think so.
Yeah, makes sense. Dave from the Shoe Shine, what do you think of this fight card, and what would you like to see next from each guy here?
You know, it looks okay on paper, but for all intents and purposes, it's a showcase fight for the local market. So I'm not entirely thrilled about it. Again, these are two very popular fighters. Vergil Ortiz, we haven't even seen his ceiling yet. You know, now that he's entered this new weight class, I'm excited to see him. Obviously, he had a long layoff because of that medical issue he had. I went to see him fight in January at the Virgin, and it was a sham. It was one round. So I don't know how he's going to perform at 154. And you and I have just witnessed, everyone here has just witnessed some of the greatest 154-pound fighters. We saw Tim Tszyu. We saw Fundora in action. We've been paying close attention to Jesus Ramos Jr.'s career. there's a lot of great names, including Terrence Bud Crawford moving up to 154. I need to see a lot from Vergil. He's in against a guy who was basically a fringe contender at 147 in Dulorme. I need to see an explosive knockout, to be honest, And for Jose, he's in, he's got that tremendous fan base there. He can still put 15,000 plus people seats in a Fresno arena, which is spectacular, but I'm not so sure how I see him stacked up against anybody at 140 pounds. I've stood side by side by him, and I really don't even know how he makes. If Ryan Garcia can't make 140, I don't know how he makes 140. And I've never seen any evidence that he's a killer at 140. I don't think he carries power to 147. So maybe we're looking at the tail end of Jose Ramirez's career. And like Gail pointed out, he's got other interests. He's made a lot of money. Maybe we're seeing the tail end of Jose Ramirez's career. I don't see him making a second run out of being a world champion at 140. We're going to watch it. I'm excited to see that, but I'm okay with his career coming up to wrapping up. Now, I am excited to see Oscar Duarte come back. He'll be on that card, and he's fighting someone who's performed so poorly recently in Jojo Diaz that I wonder why Jojo Diaz took this fight. Because I see a stoppage in this fight, and Oscar Duarte needs a stoppage. Recently, last week, I heard something very interesting come out of Ryan Garcia's mouth when he said that he would propose having a boxing league that included legal use of steroids and marijuana. And they asked him, they said, Ryan, have you ever faced anybody you thought used steroids? And he right away said, Duarte. That motherfucker hits like a mule. Excuse my language. He said something along the lines that he hits like a mule. So Oscar Duarte, even though, we just saw Devin Haney take the biggest whooping of his life, and Ryan caught Duarte with the same left hook, essentially. So I think Duarte is still a player at 140 pounds. Now that he's moved up, he's going into the weight. Ryan Garcia just admitted he's the hardest person that's ever punched him. I'm excited to see what Oscar Duarte can do, because taking a loss like that early in your career when you're not ready for someone as elite as a Ryan Garcia, that's not necessarily a bad thing. We could possibly see Oscar Duarte in some very big fights against the likes of these top athletes at 140 pounds.
Okay, all right. Danny Glover, are you going to, over there in the UK, you're going to stay up to watch this one? Or you're going to find the stream, make sure you watch it? Jose Ramirez, Vergil Ortiz, and these showcase fights. What do you think of them, and what would you like to see next from each guy?
Yeah, I'll possibly watch it. The Vergil Ortiz fight, well, yeah, we just saw him get a funny stoppage against Frederick Lawson last time out. So, yeah, it's good that he's getting back out. Probably should have got out a bit sooner because he didn't even break a sweat. But I think he should stay at 154 because, as we know, at 147, he's always, ending up in the hospital and stuff like that. So I expect, but, Thomas Dulorme, like, we saw him get taken out in a round by Jaron Ennis like a few years ago now. So is it really even like a benchmark to even set? Like you're a few years behind now when you're dealing with opponents like this. But I expect Ortiz to take him out. You can't really go one better than one round. So I guess he's got to try and go for a first round finish again. But then, you really would be looking to try and get some rounds out. Who I'd like to see him fight next? Well, 154 pounds, because that's where I would want him to see him. There is Patrick Teixeira, the former WBO champion there, or there's Brian Castano. So, fight a former world champion, someone, a bit not too heavy, but yeah, whilst the champions are probably tied up like Tim Tszyu and stuff like that, you fight one of the former champions, and then, you build from there, I guess. And then with Jose Ramirez, if he stays at 140, I guess that would be a good opponent, a good comeback opponent for the man who took a defeat at 140 just on the weekend, I guess, Mr. Devin Haney. So that would always, and because it's all up in the air if he's still got his WBC title. So Jose Ramirez, with his good fan base out on the West Coast, it will sell, I believe. So yeah, he just needs to get through this one, which I expect him to do so. And yeah, that'd be a good little title shot for him.
For sure, for sure. Ryan. You're on mute, brother.
There we go.
What do you think of the fight card this Saturday, and what would you like to see next from each guy?
Jose Ramirez and Rances bar headbutt me. I'm not really excited about the fight. Come on, you guys should have laughed at the headbutt me part. You know, Barthele is known for leaning in with his head, but yeah, it's the tune-up fight for both of them. I feel like they deserve it. You know, Dulorme, yeah, I mean, he technically has a puncher's chance. We saw how he was able to land a couple of flush shots on Boots Ennis, you know, right before getting knocked out. Didn't really work out for him. So I think it's going to be a very short, explosive fight. It should. I'm more excited to see Vergil Ortiz in action than Dulorme or than Jose Ramirez. Excuse me, I'm still struggling over here. But yeah, I think Ramirez is kind of at the tail end of his career. He's looking to make some money before hanging it up. I don't think we're going to see him win another world title. But you know, the one shining grace that he has is that he's able to put butts in seats. And so I think at some point we'll probably see maybe a Ryan Garcia Jose Ramirez fight. Maybe at Staples Center, or not Staples Center. It's now Crypto.com Arena. I think that would be feasible.
For sure. Hey, so we're gonna proceed here. All I wanted to say about this is Vergil Ortiz. I'm okay with this fight for Vergil. I just want to see him make weight. I want to see if he's healthy, and I want to see if he can. You know, I think it's going to have to be baby steps, whether we like it or not. I'll just put it that way. I'd just like to see him more active, and hopefully, if he's a player again in this game, then you know he's not somebody to mess with, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So, let's get to last Saturday. This was a crazy event, to put it lightly. Ryan Garcia silences the critics. Well, actually, now the critics are now turned into overnight fans all of a sudden. Now everybody loves Ryan Garcia, all right? But he goes out there, he knocks Devin Haney several times to the ground. There's controversy about the fight. Major upset, majority decision. Thoughts on the fight, and what surprised you? Gail, to start with you.
What surprised me is that everybody knows, it's no secret, that by far the biggest weapon Ryan Garcia has is the left hook. This is not a secret. This is not anything that takes any spycraft to figure out.
Right.
And yet, Bill Haney and Devin Haney didn't figure out how to avoid it. How in the world did that happen? Haney is a brilliant tactician and defensive fighter. I was ringside watching the Haney Prograis bout last December, and Prograis could not touch Haney, could not get to him. A very skilled offensive fighter. It's like Haney had a force field around him. And I truly expected to see a version of that on Saturday. If anything, in my prediction, the only thing I got right by prediction at all was that if Garcia had any chance, he'd come out gangbusters from the opening bell. And he did. But other than that, I don't know what happened. And Haney did not make excuses after the fight. He said, I was sleeping on it. Well, boy, truer words were never spoken. He absolutely was sleeping on it. They're going to have a lot to think about over the next months. They're going to need to think how their approach needs to be fine-tuned because, boy, it did not work for this fight. Ryan was also aided by the weight issue. We're going to debate that and talk about that outcome and that strategy for years to come. Did it, was it the right thing? Does it taint, the victory? It did not, to my surprise, affect his speed at all. And it certainly did nothing but help his punching power. One aspect of the fight I'll give Haney a lot of credit for that we've never really seen tested is he's got a hell of a chin. He took shot after shot. He should have been down in the first round. Honestly, I thought he was until I got over my shock to really see what was going on. And he could have been knocked down several other times. He made it to the final bell. That took a lot of guts and a lot of fortitude. So we know he's got a chin he can rely on. And that's the only real positive lesson that Devin Haney got out of that fight, other than needing to really rethink his approach. So, is this good for boxing? That's another question we're going to get to debate for many weeks and months to come. Is boxing good for Ryan Garcia? Is Ryan Garcia good for boxing? Those aren't necessarily mutual things either.
All right. Does it taint the win for you? The fact that he came in at 143.
I don't love it. You know, you've got one job as an opponent, and it's to make weight, and he didn't. Haney, the Haney team, as it turns out, made a tactical error letting the fight go forward because he blew the weight limit. I mean, the weight limits are there for a reason, and especially anything much below middleweight, a few pounds makes a big difference. Yeah, I get it. They all rehydrate up to a similar weight, but that's not where the harm takes place. The harm takes place in cutting weight and making sure you can get there, which drains you. I don't care who you are, if you're anywhere close to making the limit. So Haney, no doubt, struggled, disciplined himself, made it. Ryan clearly lived the high life, claims he boozed it up and partied all the way down to the opening bell, which means that he didn't struggle. He had nothing to struggle against other than the discussion about him having to drop 10 pounds at the last minute. But that's not necessarily the same thing. So there's an asterisk on this fight for me. Definitely having Garcia blow through the weight limit. He needs to go up to 147. He did say in the post-fight presser that this is his last fight at 140, which in truth, he's never had a fight at 140. He's fought at 143 both times. So yeah, he needs to move up. And assuming that eventually Terrence Crawford drops all the belts at 147, we'll have a lot of vacant belts in play, and that'll suit him very well.
Absolutely. Shout out to Michael Woods. He becomes a YouTube member of Ringside Reporter. So thanks for supporting
the boss. Thank you. What's he?
There you go. And hit the like, as Christine said in the chat. Christine said it, so you guys have to do it. Okay, I'm just saying. Dave, Ryan Garcia, man, what are your just reaction to him winning? You've had some time to think about it. 48 hours now, and what surprised you? And is this win tainted because of the 140-pound coming over the weight limit?
What surprised me is he's pulled off the biggest upset in boxing of 2024, and he's completely flipped the script in the sport of boxing. It absolutely surprised me, and I think we all had our feeling in round one when he caught him with that left hook that it was going to be a win for Ryan Garcia. I did manage to hedge my bet now that I live here in Las Vegas and come out ahead on that. I did put some money on both of them. Right. Listen, if there was a sanctioning body, a whole new sanctioning body for bragging rights, then Ryan Garcia is now the undisputed world champion of bragging rights. And that's all it is. The win is tainted for me. He came in over 3 pounds, and it was intentional. He wanted to have an advantage. I just brought up Oscar Duarte, guys. Oscar Duarte was never fought above 135 pounds, a lightweight. That's Ryan Garcia's most recent win, behind Devin Haney. He moved the guy up 8 pounds in weight. What he learned in that Gervonta Tank Davis negotiation with the rehydration clause coming in at 136, he used it against Devin Haney, the lineal 140-pound champion. He used that. He proved he was the A-side by forcing Devin Haney into this fight. Now, we could all sit here and be like, well, Devin Haney could have said, no, the fight's over, or bring in Barbosa. I know everybody here paid to see me fight, Ryan Garcia, the social media star, but bring in Barbosa. I mean, come on, guys. That's completely unrealistic. The pressure was so heavy on Devin Haney to come out and perform and just take the 3-pound loss with the money and whatnot. It just wasn't feasible. It was a detriment to Devin Haney. What we learned about Devin Haney, his power, he's barely got any power to really clean out the 140-pound division. We saw the chin, the glass chin, the questionable chin, the questionable punch resistance that we saw in the Linares fight. We saw it come back. And truly, when Ryan Garcia started the fight and said, I am willing to die tonight, it wasn't him. It turned out to be Devin Haney that was willing to die, and Bill. Because if anybody was hasta la muerte, it was Devin Haney that was not going to he was going to finish this fight on his feet. So credit to Devin Haney for finishing this fight as well. And all the credit for Ryan Garcia for all his antics that obviously the antics, the pre-fight antics, the press conferences, everything he did in the lead up got to Devin Haney. This is not the Devin Haney most pundits expected to see Saturday. He got into Devin Haney's head early. And he was never in the fight. 1 minute into the fight, he gets caught with exactly the what if punch. What if Ryan Garcia lands that power punch? What if he landed it? And it was easy work for Ryan Garcia for the rest of the night. Ryan Garcia has a high ceiling. And now we kind of felt that years back, when he emerged onto the scene, that this kid, he's got the physicality, the build to eventually even go as high as potentially 154 pounds. But how will his journey go along the way? Where I used to think Ryan Garcia could potentially be one of like Vicious Victor Ortiz, another protege of Oscar De La Hoya, where I thought Ryan Garcia is the next Victor Vicious Ortiz, whatever. Now I'm starting to rethink that. If you play his cards right, maybe he could snatch up a vacant welterweight title. And for all intents and purposes, Ryan Garcia is a welterweight. This fight happened at the welterweight limit. Devin Haney deserves to keep his WBC title because it was not on the line. Otherwise, you should have stripped Canelo Alvarez as well when he lost to Dimitri Bivol. But they didn't strip him. You know what I'm saying? So Devin Haney's still the WBC champion at 140. He deserves to fight the likes of Teofimo Lopez. I would love to see that fight. I think that could still be competitive. Maybe take an easier fight for Ryan Garcia. Welcome to the welterweight division. I'd like to see you fight Mario Barrios, who's fighting on Cinco de Mayo. Obviously, he's the co-main. That's a huge name. Mario Barrios, a guy that also fought Gervonta Tank Davis and was winning. Let me see you fight Mario. Let me see you fight Boots Ennis eventually. Somebody that not only cracks as hard as you do, but can box. And then we'll really find out if you're just a boxer puncher or if you're the complete total package. And then after that, guys, wow, I could see him going up to 154. And we could be talking about Ryan Garcia versus Tim Tszyu. How about that, D-Styles? We stood right next to both of those guys. Same build. Why not?
Man. All right. Okay. Christine, Ryan Garcia defeated Devin Haney majority decision. What are your thoughts? What surprised you? And is Ryan coming over 140 pounds taint the win for you?
So I agree with Dave that this was, for some people, the biggest upset of the year thus far. And also with Gail that said, that Goodnight Irene, they did not prepare for. So, Bill had talked about it. His strongest punch, Ryan's biggest punch is the Goodnight Irene. And there was no adjustments made, so that kind of shocked me. That was shocking to me because as a coach, you have to adjust each round. I had predicted that Ryan would have to come out and dog him and be nasty the first 4 rounds. But if he didn't, that Haney was going to do a Shakur Stevenson and box circles around him. That didn't happen. So in my heart, I wanted Ryan to win. And in my boxing brain, I thought that Haney was going to have the team to make the adjustments to beat him. But it didn't happen. I do think that even though Haney had the ref on his side, that Ryan proved to the end that he should have had his hands raised, and he did. So, I'm happy. I didn't bet on the fight. I'm not a betting woman, but, I wish I would have. Just saying.
You're muted, D-Star.
You're muted.
So let's go to Joe. Sorry about that. Let's go to Joe Habib. Joe, out of everything, what are the things that shocked you in this fight? And does Ryan coming over the 140-pound division taint the win a little bit for you?
Well, going into the fight, I think everybody knew that both guys were very quick. And I thought the speed would have been comparable. But the one thing that really surprised me was how much faster Ryan was than Devin. And that's why he kept getting hit with the left hook. You can prepare for something all you want. And then when you get in there, it's totally different. And you never know like how fast two guys are until you see them in the ring actually together. Because you could look from the outside and see them against different guys and say, wow, they're both quick. But it was clear as day that Ryan was much quicker than Devin. And as the fight started out, you can see Devin trying to lay back, thinking that he could catch Ryan leaping in. He was trying to be the counterpuncher in that first round, I felt. And he just couldn't get a gauge for that speed, how quick and explosive Ryan Garcia is. And, a lot of times when you see a guy put on weight, right? He's coming up from 135. So he's like he's 143. And the question is, will he be slower? But this is a guy whose muscles were full of glycogen, which allowed him to be more explosive. So he actually was quicker at 143 than he ever was at 135, because this is a fully rehydrated guy with his glycogen stores filled to the top, and that's where the explosiveness comes from. So the speed did surprise me. Like I said, I knew he was fast, but I didn't think he was that much faster than Devin. So then, Devin had to step to him a little bit, knew he couldn't wait on him, and he started winning some rounds by doing that. But then Garcia adjusted to Devin coming forward, and he started punching with him. So if you notice, when Devin would step in with the jab, Garcia would throw the hook with the jab. And sometimes the hook would beat the jab, and there were times when they both landed pretty much at the same time. But once again, that jab did not have the same effect as the hook did. Right. So that it was a very interesting fight. And as crazy as, we were saying Ryan Garcia was, or at least I was saying, he was, I did think he was kind of putting up a show and an act. I did think he would train for the fight. But when I did see him go over the weight limit, I did have to question, did he train hard? Did he really train hard? Or did he just go through the motions because he didn't make weight? So a lot of times when a fighter doesn't make weight, you do question the intensity and, how good the training was, right?
Or was it strategy?
Yeah, or the strategy as well. But when I did see him, at the weigh-in and he was over, and then I looked at him the night of the fight, I said to myself, he didn't even try to make weight. He wanted to be big. He wanted to be explosive. He wanted to be strong. He wanted to be powerful. And I understand the fact that, one guy worked very hard to make weight and had to dig down deep to deplete himself. And obviously it took more of a toll on Devin Haney's body than it did Ryan Garcia's body, because he didn't have to, squeeze down to those extra 3 pounds. So obviously, if you're being objective, that is an advantage. I mean, it's not fair to Devin Haney, and that's why the title wasn't on the line. But even with all that being said, I still thought Devin Haney was going to win this fight. He was still a 10-1 favorite. The odds actually went up. He was a larger favorite once Ryan Garcia didn't make weight. So this was a surprise. I still, all those things being said, I still did not think Ryan Garcia was going to win the fight, but he did. Now, I was disappointed that he didn't make the weight, because I would have liked to have seen this be a title fight, and it would have been great to see Ryan Garcia win his first world title. But I have to be honest with you, because of the magnitude of this upset, I love upsets, and him just overcoming the odds, him having no shot. I think only 2 people I know actually picked him to win, and I talked to a lot of people. So about 97% of the people I talked to had Devin Haney winning this fight. So because this was such a gigantic, large upset, even him not making the weight, it kind of kind of erases that. It's unfair for me to say that, and it's probably wrong for me to say that. But for my own selfish reasons and the way I love upsets, and because I was so impressed with him winning this fight that I did not think he had any shot of winning, it doesn't taint the victory for me, but it will have an asterisk next to it when you look at the rules, because he did not follow the rules. He agreed to make the weight. He did not. And Devin made the weight and he held up his end of the bargain. Ryan did not. So I understand the argument of people saying, yeah, this win is tainted. But for me, the magnitude of this upset erases that asterisk, if I'm being honest.
All right, okay. HLD, it's still the Haney era first two-time email paper champion, 135 and 140. Media subversion propaganda makes the best champion of all time. E-Crow. Ha, 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 ha. Man, HLD ain't holding back from nothing. All right, but there you go. Thanks for the super chat. Much appreciated. Shout out to everybody listening. By the way, make sure you guys hit the like button. Let's get to 100 likes on the show. Come on, we can do it. I believe in you guys. You know, why not? Right? Let's go with Danny here. Danny, what you think of the performance by Ryan? And is the win tainted, in your opinion? Because he came over 140 pounds.
The performance by Ryan was very good. I think that the mind games did get to Devin, because you saw when Ryan started doing the clicking the fingers, Devin turned and goes, I don't know if this guy's taking his fight seriously. Even though it was so funny. And then what it was, with all that pushing and shoving, remember, in Devin's last fight, he managed to get the record of the least punches landed on him via Rodriguez Prograis. So then Ryan, it seemed, wanted Devin to become more aggressive. Hence, Devin was holding his feet more, and I'm sure those silly boots didn't help with his movement. So him holding his feet more was the reason why he was able to get caught with that left hook so frequently. And then also him being aggressive, even though when he did get dropped in a couple of those rounds, he still got up and managed to win a few of those rounds. And as far as when people saying, it was a shock. Yes, it was a shock to a lot of us boxing community. But for some reason, Ryan must have a big fan base, because I did notice on the night, on that voting thing poll on the side, on Fan Zone, it had Ryan as 57% chance to win. I was like, that's a bit strange. This was before the fight. So he must have a big following, even though, and how I know why he is a global star. I know Gervonta Davis says, oh, I'm the face of boxing, but Ryan Garcia must be, because even when I was in Malaysia, they seem to know who he is. They don't know who Canelo is. They don't know Anthony Joshua. They know, obviously, what's his name, Manny Pacquiao, because that's Far East Asia. But they know Ryan Garcia, obviously, through social media and stuff like that. So he's a global star. He's got 11 million followers on Instagram. And yeah, that win now is just going to propel him to even more. I'm sure Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins are going to talk to him very nicely from now on, and not say anything derogatory in press conferences. It was a master stroke, because I remember even the training camps in the build-up, I saw Derek James on the floor just looking so distraught when Ryan's just doing some crazy stuff. With the weight making thing, I think I saw Ryan tweet that he wanted to be strong. He doesn't care about the 1.5 million. He put a bet on himself and managed to win 12 million, I saw. So that 1.5 didn't really mean much to him. Him coming down to 136 versus Gervonta Davis. Now, do you have to put an asterisk on that win for Gervonta Davis? Will Gervonta be happy to actually, go up and fight him at a proper weight and see how he does against a hydrated Ryan Garcia? Because that will be interesting. What I was surprised about with Devin, though, is that I'm surprised he was getting caught even when he was trying to duck under the left hook of Ryan, because Gervonta Davis was using the duck move where he looks at the floor. And his senses were high, because he was ducking under all of them and managed to land a counter, where when Devin would duck under, he wouldn't manage to counter for some reason. And for someone who you fought 6 times already, surely you would know how to evade his trademark punch. But I don't know. I think maybe he wanted to just stand and trade, and all his talk from Bill Haney, oh, murder on my mind, and we're going to do this, and we're going to put him in the ground and all this. I think his dad maybe even gassed him up a bit too much. Sometimes these fathers, they can be a bit detrimental to their sons when they go a bit too over the top with it. So,
sure.
Did Ryan benefit from the weight? Yeah, of course he did, because he was more of himself. If he managed to go to 140, he probably wouldn't have been able to perform as well. But Devin, if he was 3 pounds more, would it have made much of a difference? I don't really think so, because he would have still held his feet. He still would have been caught by the left hooks. The left hooks were mashing his face up, so they would have still been doing a lot of damage to him. So I don't think the weight really would have changed the result of the fight had Devin, if they both did a catch weight of 143. I think they'll probably rematch at 147 at some point, because Devin's definitely got to go up in the not too distant future. So that'll be a good fight to see. And I think Gervonta Davis needs to run it back at a higher weight, because his win is definitely under question on that 136 with a rehydration clause in there as well. So Derek James is back in the game, because his fighters have been taking a beating as of late. So that's good to see. And yeah, what I'd like to see is probably Ryan Garcia versus I don't even know. But Devin, he has a few options, because I don't think he should lose his belt. He could fight Teofimo Lopez. They've both taken a loss. I saw people talking about, oh, Devin, he's been exposed. He's finished. I'm like, mate, we've got to get these fighters out of this Floyd Mayweather era of never taking a loss. The best thing that can happen to all these guys is they all take one loss each. That way there is no O to protect, and they all can fight each other. Devontae, Shakur, Teo, Devin, Ryan, and they just all have it out of each other, and who wins, and who don't.
Gotcha.
But styles make fights, and just because one person beats that guy doesn't mean it's just like the Fab Four. Just because one guy took out one guy doesn't mean that he's gonna beat the other guy. We've seen so many examples of that over the years, and yeah, it was a surprising win, but that's why we love boxing.
100%. So really quick, Danny, the Beeb wants to know, do they know Tyson Fury in Malaysia? Like, is he Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King?
No, they don't.
I want to know too.
No, they know Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, and Ryan Garcia. That's it.
Ryan Garcia, that bunch is weird, but okay, hey, it is what it is.
He's social media famous. Like, come on.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Not even out of Newell?
Nope.
No. Wow.
I just want to say this before I go to Ryan. I just want to say this. So, great points about the losing the O, but the onus to a certain degree is on boxing fans too. I'm seeing a lot of the over the top, I guess, making fun of Devin Haney that's going on right now. Which whatever, I get it, it's a fight game and all that, but you're not really encouraging these fighters to take a risk and put it on the line if you're going to be mocking them like that when they lose. And I'll also say, I saw Ryan's post where Haney fell on his knees and he's doing the whole homosexual joke.
Pause.
Yeah, that's not very Christian-like. I'm just going to put that out there. And I don't care if you want to fight. Like, you're a fake Christian, dude. Like I'm just going to put that out there. You just are. Like this. Like, I'm just. And I'm also. And if you look, if you're ride and die Ryan, you've been backing them up since day one. I get it. Cool. But all these dudes that were saying he wasn't raza and he's not a real Mexican and like, yes, gay tendencies, all the stuff people were saying about him, right? Now you're all over the dude. Now you're his biggest fans. You're retweeting him. You're the biggest Ryan Garcia fan of all time. All of a sudden, right? Like, I didn't like him before this fight, and guess what? I still don't like him. All right. I do think there's an asterisk. Of course there is, because he didn't make the weight. 100%. And no one can do well, you didn't say this about this guy. You didn't say this about that guy. Because I've always talked shit about the guys that didn't honor their weight. Floyd did it to Marquez, and I kept it consistent. I said he should have honored that the agreed upon weight. Okay. Shakur did it to Conceição, and I said the same thing. All right. And what I'm going to say is, if theoretically, hypothetically, if Ryan Garcia took a diuretic to make 140 pounds, everybody would be calling him a cheater and everybody would be criticizing him, and rightfully so. But what's the difference between that and not bothering to make the weight? It's the same thing. You're getting the same advantage, right? If anything, it's more effective to not even bother making the weight, to be quite frank, right? Now, before I proceed, you there, Ryan? Oh, you're on mute, brother.
My bad.
There we go. Hey, Ryan, to tell us what you think of the fight, brother. Whoa, what happened? All right, Ryan fell off. I don't know what happened.
Bigger things to do.
Castillo did it to Corrales. He did, and it is what it is.
And Salido did it to Lomachenko. Let's not forget that.
Yes, Salido did it to Lomachenko, and of course going to bring it. Otherwise, what's the point of the weight classes? What's the point of making weight? Why should one guy make the weight and the other guy doesn't, right? So I'm not saying, I know people saying, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not this and it's not that. You could say whatever you want. At the end of the day, I mean, there's an asterisk next to it, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Is Ryan, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. My bad. I accidentally kicked myself out.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. Oops.
Hey, brother, talk to us. Well, what you think of the performance of Ryan Garcia, the Tocayo?
Yeah, for the asterisk, because he did miss the weight. He did have a significant advantage coming into the fight. But based on what I've learned, I think Ryan Garcia would have won the fight either way. So I was talking to some credible sources that are close to Haney. I reached out to ask how he was doing, to see if he was doing okay, and they said he was okay, but they also said, hey, training camp was a complete disaster. They kind of gave me the indication that Haney was complacent. You know, he didn't train like he normally did, trained with a different group of people than he normally did, and didn't want to do certain things that he normally does. That possibly may have been why he looked so bad in there. So when you factor that in, I think he probably would have lost either way. Then you add the extra weight. Ryan Garcia clearly got in his head. Psychological warfare. It's kind of like when Bernard Hopkins kind of gave the indication to Oscar De La Hoya that he was at the end. Yeah, my tooth fell off. I'm an old man. And then Oscar admitted, after I heard that at the press conference, I didn't train as hard as I normally did, and Hopkins knocked him out in the 9th round of that fight in 2004. So, it wasn't the same Devin Haney that we normally see, but that's on him. So credit to Ryan Garcia for showing up to fight, and he got the win. I was surprised at how much faster Ryan was as well. But again, based on what I learned, I'm not too surprised now. Credit to Ryan.
All right.
Yep.
Sounds good. Let's go ahead and we're still talking about these guys here, but what is next for Ryan Garcia and what is next for Devin Haney, respectively, each guy, right? Joe, start us out. What's next for each guy here? Oh, you're muted, brother.
I would like to see Ryan Garcia probably fight like Conor Benn. I don't think he's going to fight Boots Ennis. That fight's not. It's not the right fight next. I think Conor Benn versus Ryan Garcia would be a good fight. Devin Haney, I don't know if he's going to stay at 140, but if he stays at 140, he's probably going to have to fight Sandor Martin. But if he goes up to 147, I don't know. He'd probably need maybe an Alexis Rocha type fight. That'd be a good fight for him, I think. But at 140, I think he would fight Sandor Martin.
Okay. Well, so you think you don't see a rematch at all this year with them?
I'm not sure. I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical that a rematch is going to happen. It may. I mean, people may look at that, and a lot of people are looking at that and saying it's funny they're calling it a one-sided fight, because if you look at it by rounds, I mean, Devin did win some rounds. He won a good amount of rounds in that fight, but it's just there was so many knockdowns. So it was competitive in spots, but then the second half of the fight, Ryan just really did pull away. So I'm not sure if people would want a rematch.
I don't know. Okay. All right. Ryan, talk to us. What's next for each guy?
I kind of agree with Joe. Excuse me. I'm struggling over here, man. Allergies are killing me. Yeah, I don't know if the public wants to see the rematch again. It's kind of like the same thing with Crawford and Spence. The fight was, I mean, it was competitive, right? But when you factor in the knockdowns, you factor in the fact that Harvey Dock was, giving Haney extra time. That was so bad. You put that in there. Is the public going to support a rematch? I just don't think so. We already know that they fought forever in the amateurs, and the billing for this fight was this one counts. So what's the rematch going to be? This one counts too? Like I just don't see that happening. I think Haney will stay. Probably take a couple of fights at 140 again. Get his confidence back. I mean, it's going to take a little while. I mean, it's not like, he lost a really close decision. It was technically close on the scorecards, but in reality, he got beat up. And, when you get beat up, that's a whole different psychological and mental effect. So for Ryan Garcia, who should he fight next? Well, I know we were talking about how Ryan said his body can't make 140. His body can make 140. It's just that he drinks too much. So he drinks a lot of alcohol, and that's why he has trouble getting down to 140 pounds. So, I mean, credit to him for even showing up to fight, really, given that he does have those struggles, and most people do, honestly. I don't personally, but I know a lot of people that do struggle with alcohol, and man, if they tried to fight, they would come like 40 pounds overweight. So, credit to Ryan. I don't see him fighting Boots Ennis just yet. I don't know if you guys saw the video with his dad and Eddie Hearn were just screaming at each other. And then Henry asked, well, who do you have? Luke Campbell, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as Eddie Hearn said Boots Ennis, Henry apologized. Oh, yeah. Okay, I don't think he's ready for that smoke yet. But, not Ennis. Maybe a Mario Barrios. Maybe the winner of the Barrios-Madonna fight. Because the winner of that fight will likely get elevated to full world champion because Crawford is moving up. So as soon as that fight's over, Ryan could literally just say, hey, I want this guy next. And, he'll probably end up winning that fight and become a world champion that way, given that he makes weight.
For sure. Hey, Danny, what would you like to see for each guy here?
Well, for Ryan, the belts are going to become vacant, so we could wait for a fight with, say, Stanionis. There's Conor Benn, who will probably come back down to 147 because 154, there's no point in trying that. For Devin Haney, as I said before, I'd probably like to, he's got the mandatory versus Sandor Martin, but then he can also fight Teofimo Lopez if he wins that. It's best he does stay at 140 for a while, Devin. Because 147, he'll probably have to build into it, especially around the legs, because the legs look very slim for someone trying to do 147. So for Devin, it's best he stays at 140 for now. For Ryan, I think he can do a couple of catchweight fights, because with someone like Ryan, yes, it's always good to get the belts, but for someone like him, he doesn't necessarily need belts to sell fights for now. He's just a global star regardless, but obviously accolades, he will want to go down in history to be a world champion, especially with his following and his looks and stuff. I'm sure there's going to be a movie made about him one day. But yeah, he could pick up a vacant title at some point. So probably Conor Benn or Stanionis. because we know Vergil Ortiz has messed around Stanionis for so long. I feel so bad for the guy. So yeah, Ryan the world's his oyster at the moment. Harvey Dock, that was a bad showing for him last night. He shouldn't and he's normally very good, but that was very bad of him. It should have been probably about 5 knockdowns in there, to be fair. But yeah, we saw some funny cooking. I remember earlier, I think, who was it? Dave, you said that about that the pressure was on Devin, why he couldn't pull out and put a replacement opponent in there like Barboza. The reason why also is because it was on the East Coast for both of them. Devin probably was pressurized into the fight because he can't pull out the fight because they're in New York. You've got all the fans flying over 5 hours or whatever it is over there, flights, accommodation, tickets. You can't just pull the plug. There's going to be so much money lost, so much fuming people who've made that travel for both guys that Devin he just had to take the money, really, take the fine money and get on with the fight because it was too much at stake with all the fans traveling over for both of them for him to pull the fight, unfortunately. If it was in the West Coast, he could have probably pulled it or made him do same day weigh-in. But Ryan kind of had the cards stacked in his favor because they was all the way over the other side. And it's funny that I remember years ago that Floyd complained about never sending his fighters over to New York again after Badu Jack got robbed and a couple of his TMT fighters. And then we saw on the undercard, McGowan get stitched up. We saw Harvey Dock trying to stitch up Ryan Garcia in the fight. It just seems like a lot of corruption goes on in New York, and they need to be careful of that because they're struggling to get good fights down at the MGM and the Barclays Center as it is, because all the fights are have been over in the West Coast for how long?
MSG.
Yeah, sorry, MSG, not MGM. The Madison Square Garden and Barclays, because most fights are going over to the West Coast and now Saudi. So the one time you do get a nice big mega fight, if you're doing all this, corruption, it's not going to be a good incentive for fighters to want to, or promoters to want to put on shows out in New York ever again. So they need to sort of sort that out with their commission.
Very, very interesting stuff. Christine, what's next for Ryan Garcia? What you like to see next? What you like to see next from Devin Haney?
So, I mean, I think this is going to sound really bad because we have a lot of Richardson Hitchens fans, but I think Haney should go for him next. I was not impressed with his last performance. So I think that he has to rebuild. Another thing, I think that, he needs to probably get somebody else on his team, because obviously his dad is not doing it. He has a big mouth. He talks a lot for him, but he showed this weekend that he's not doing what he needs to do. And you know what? It's okay to have your dad, your mom, whoever in the corner, but there comes a time where you need to call somebody else in. And I think that we're at that time with Haney. I do. Honestly, I thought, like I said before, I thought he was going to do Shakur Stevenson and be, moving. Some people say on his bike, have his track shoes on, whatever. He had nothing. He had nothing for Garcia. So I think let's start with Richardson Hitchens and then just move on up. There's Anton Russell, there's Danonis, there's Barrios, there's, Matias, not yet. Pitbull, not yet. But yeah.
All right. And Gail, what would you like to see next from each guy here?
I like the Hitchens fight for Haney. I think that's a great matchup. Hitchens needs his own form of rehabilitation too after that horrible, stinking performance. He won, but to get eyeballs back on him, he needs the opponent to be the A side, or at least the A- side. And I think Haney handles him easily, honestly. So that's a good matchup. Ryan, I would love to see a rematch with either Devin or Tank, if they'd take it. but it's not going to happen next. Conor Benn's the perfect solution. They can do it in Vegas. They both play the heel. Oh my God, can you imagine? The lead up to that fight will be epic. It'll do big money. It's got both UK money and US West Coast money. All the Mexican fans will turn out. It would be nuts. I think I'd need body armor if I went to that fight. So, and then the matter of who you root for is more who do you want to see get the beat down more in the Garcia versus Ben fight. So I think that's the one we're going to see.
Okay. All right. Dave, what's next for each guy here?
For Haney, I love what you guys are saying. The Hitchens fight, he just kind of had a poor performance, in my opinion, here in Las Vegas. And Haney needs to fight somebody that he can regain his confidence in before going into a unification, defending that WBC title. Hitchens is a perfect type fighter, or Sandor Martin, who did unexpectedly well against Teofimo Lopez. Ultimately, I want to see Devin Haney fight Teofimo Lopez at 140. I think those are the two biggest stars in that division, and Haney needs to rebuild himself. Now, as far as Ryan Garcia, he's a welterweight now. Let me see you do the Chicano tour or the Conor Benn. And when I say Chicano tour, I'm talking Mario Barrios, or how about Giovanni Santillan, who's undefeated and will be fighting on the Navarrete undercard. He is a perfect type of fighter for Ryan Garcia to acclimate himself as a welterweight. Giovanni Santillan has fought exclusively in that division. Alexis Rocha, another Chicano that's been fighting in the welterweight division for many years. And of course, Mario Barrios, who could potentially be elevated to full champion status. The Conor Benn fight is really, really attractive to me, guys. You guys are all bringing up some great things. And what we have to remind everybody is that Conor Benn speaks perfect Spanish, and Ryan does not. And that could ultimately be used as a huge marketing advantage, because Conor Benn will use his perfect Spanish as a ploy to get into the head of Ryan Garcia and potentially pick off the Raza for Haney crowd.
But is it going to be like Mexicans for Haney? The outcome?
That's what I'm exactly. You could potentially play into the Raza for Ben, because you're going to have a portion of the Latino demographic that still want to see Ryan humbled because they don't like him. I mean, you just expressed that. You just expressed it, D-Style. Like, sure, he won. All credit to Ryan. Okay. Timothy Bradley said, all credit to him. I still don't like the guy. Okay. I don't like him. There's going to be people that want to see Ryan Garcia get humbled. And Conor Benn could potentially be that guy because he's explosive. He's dangerous. He's a welterweight. He's fought as high as 154, and he can't fight in the UK, but he can fight right here in Las Vegas. A great fight, a great opponent, and an in-house fight at the Zone. So let's see it happen.
100%. Let me give a shout out to Timothy Bradley, by the way. Tim, all you have to do is say, I wasn't being serious. That's all you have to say, Tim. You know
Ja.
By the way, he did say, I might as well retire. He didn't say, I will retire if Ryan Garcia wins. That's not what he said.
A lot of interference for Tim, man.
You know what I mean? Shout out to Tim Bradley. Right?
A lot of interference for Tim.
But let's proceed here. There's some big news this last week. Let's start with the first one. Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serranon II announced to be on the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson undercard. They'll be in Dallas. It is 10 rounds, 2 minutes, 140 pounds. Katie Taylor reportedly going to make up to $6 million for this fight. Jesus Christ. But shout out to Katie Taylor. You know what I mean? She just, you know what I mean? Damn. But
why not?
And I'm sure Amanda's gonna make good money too, by the way. Christine, what you make of the announcement?
I am so excited. I'm so hyped. It's like Jake Paul is doing so many great things for boxing. He is. I mean, whether we like him or not, whether we think he can box or not, he's doing great things. And then when I first heard about he and Tyson, I was like, okay. But then when I heard the undercard, was Katie Taylor and Serrano, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, that's beautiful. He's giving them a platform and they deserve it. A lot of people I heard were saying no because that's main event worthy and this and that. You know what? On this card, on this platform, the co-main event is good. It's great. We're gonna have so many eyes. Like all of Jake Paul's people, Mike Tyson, like the old heads, then the women that love boxing, the men that love boxing. Like this is fucking badass. So I'm super excited. I hope I'm in town. I don't think I am, but I love it.
Man, I mean, well, there you go. There you go. I mean, it's okay. I don't know if that great, but I'm not. That's kidding. But I might as well be there myself. You know, I'm not saying
You're
I'm
in
gonna.
Texas,
See what
bro?
I just did? See what I just did? I might as well be there, but I didn't say I will be there. Right? I'm just putting that
They'll be
out there. But
okay.
hey, Ryan, what are your thoughts? Katie Taylor, Serrano II. What do you think?
I'm excited. I'm more excited for that fight than the main event. Yeah, I hear the rules keep changing, so I don't know how that whole thing's gonna play out. But it's gonna be an explosive fight. You know, I think Katie and Amanda are kind of coming towards the end of their careers pretty soon, and I think that they're still at a point where their bodies are physically in their prime, and so I'm expecting to have an even better fight than we saw the first time out in New York. So,
All right.
but I have a feeling that Serrano's gonna get the decision this time, just because now it's a big card. Her promoter is literally the star of the show. I think that if the fight is close, they're going to give more rounds to Amanda than Katie, but you never know. Maybe one of them gets knocked out. That's probably not going to happen, but one can wish for an explosive outcome. And as what Christine said, Jake's doing a lot of good things for boxing, regardless of how you think of him as a person or how you think of his boxing skills. He is putting boxing back on the map, putting together some great events and getting a lot of exposure to a lot of women and men that desperately need it.
Absolutely, 100%. Dave from 702 to talk to us. What do you think? This fight, it's on. What are your thoughts?
It's awesome. Icing on the cake. Hey, shout out to everybody that invests in Netflix because they're doing really good stock wise. Did you know you could get Netflix next month for as low as $6.99? That's amazing. Just wrap your head around that. What it costs to join Amazon Prime and then paid for that Tim Tszyu fight as a pay-per-view. And you can get this fight for as low as $6.99. That's crazy. All eyes will be on this exhibition. And that's what it is. It's an exhibition, but the nostalgia that Mike Tyson brings. And then you got you got Jake Paul. Some people love him. Some people want to see him get humbled, just like Ryan Garcia. Will he beat down on the boy a little bit? Will he do that? And now you've got a legitimate, one of the most anticipated for boxing fans, women's rematch of the year. It's been a great year so far for women's boxing. We just saw Sinisa Estrada and Yocosta Valley. This is a great undercard for a fantastic value. You can get yourself a membership for pennies and watch this event. And what better way to segue from that Ryan Garcia fight we just had than to go into this mainstream crossover event? It's good. The talk about boxing being dead in America. No, we're going to see an incredible resurgence this year in 2024 for the sport of boxing.
For sure. Joe Habib, what's your reaction to this announcement? And I want to add this caveat. What happened to Serrano saying under no conditions she will ever fight 2 minutes, 10 rounds anymore against anybody?
You got to cut her some slack in this situation because it's an undisputed fight at 140. And in order for that fight to take place at 140 for undisputed, it has to be 2-minute rounds because of the WBC. So I will cut her some slack there. And you already know what I'm going to say. I've been calling for this fight for a long time. Every time Amanda Serrano would tweet out, well, I'm fighting so-and-so next. I'm fighting so-and-so next. I would always reply, what about Katie Taylor? What about Katie Taylor? What about Katie Taylor? And she finally shut me up and going to fight Katie Taylor. So I'm happy about this fight. And I'm not going to complain that it took long to make because I'm not that way. If I get the fight that I think is a good fight, I'm happy with it. I think this is the perfect time for this fight. And I got to commend Amanda Serrano for going up to 140. That's a huge jump. I know she's done it before. I know she can do it. I know she can be competitive. But once again, it's still a jump, right? And I think, just as everyone else said and is probably going to say, this fight definitely spiced up the card. It's going to be the fight of the card, in my opinion. And the exhibition is going to be what the exhibition is going to be. Obviously, that's going to be a fight for just a regular, everyday Joe out there. But this is going to be a fight for the boxing fans across the board. And I do think that it's going to be great for both women because they're going to have a lot of eyeballs. They're going to have more eyeballs on them in this fight than they did for the first fight. And that's great because they both deserve it.
All right. Danny, I mean, she wouldn't fight Chantel in England, in you know what I mean, in London or something like that, but she's going to go all the way to Dallas to fight her next fight. I just want to put that out there, by the way. But shout out to Base, who said under no circumstances will she fight outside of Ireland and all this other stuff. But nonetheless, big fight, big deal. What do you think of this fight?
Well, when you're getting paid $6 million, you're gonna leave Ireland, and also you're gonna you're gonna do a lot of things you might say you wouldn't do, but she probably didn't see $6 million coming. And Amanda Serrano, I know she was saying, yeah, he's got to be 3 minutes and stuff, but I'm sure she's getting a career highest purse as well, because Jake Paul is her promoter, and she's managed to get Katie Taylor over. But Katie is going to be the A side. She won the first fight. She is the face of women boxing in a lot of ways. Her and Carissa kind of run the show. But yeah, this is a great fight to be. We know that the Mike Tyson Jake Paul thing is a spectacle, nostalgia and stuff like that. But he tends to put proper fights on the undercard, and this is one of them. Obviously, he's got this is the co-main. Remember the last when they did fight before, that was like the women's fight of the year that year. So I expect it to be similar. They both like to throw punches, in bunches. So I expect this to be an exciting fight. It's a good build up. I see Mike Tyson have a little street brawl with Shannon the Cannon in Brownsville, New York. So that spices it up. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this card. I actually am. And it's good that I noticed that they're doing the thing on Netflix, and I noticed that I've got a notification that Pat Williams is doing some kind of live stand-up live. So that I think I've kind of figured out how they're going to stream this format live on Netflix. So it's a good look. Remember, we saw about last year or about 18 months ago, Adrian Broner was making a little joke about, oh yeah, the PBC, we're going to be fighting on Twitter. But so it just shows you that these different platforms are now getting involved in boxing. And yeah, it seems also Al Haymon is now talking to Turki Alalshikh. So we'll be seeing a lot of people fighting on a whole lot of different platforms. There's boxing on Amazon Prime coming now, and boxing now on Netflix. So yeah, it's a good look. The more we get onto different channels, as long as promoters are working together and everyone's being a bit sensible, it just does wonders for boxing. This is why we are the #1 sport, not UFC, boxing.
There you go. There you go.
One more.
All right. Gail, what are your thoughts on this fight being announced?
Love it. Thrilled to see the women getting this big payday. The women are bringing it. The women are putting a lot of the men's divisions to shame. They're willing to fight each other. They're willing to take risks. And say what you will about Serrano having insisted prior to this to fight 12 3-minute rounds. She has been very clear for a long time that despite saying that, her one exception has always been the rematch with Taylor, that she would go back to the 10 rounds, 2 minutes, if that's what Katie wanted and was willing to make the fight. So this is, anybody that wants to talk trash about her for so-called being a hypocrite or going back on her word, she's always been very clear about this. And come on, folks, money talks. This is a massive, massive payday for these women that they richly deserve, that will help draw hardcore boxing fans to this event for Netflix, who have laughed off the Paul Mike Tyson event. And you know what? Kudos to Jake Paul, who has proved he is serious about boxing. He is a fan of the sport. He has done what most promoters do not do, pays his undercard fighters well, supports them. And, you know, Jake, as he's trained and relocated a lot of his time into Puerto Rico, you know, Serrano has brought her fan base to him as well. She has welcomed him. She has endorsed him, and that has helped build his reputation. So they have a wonderful partnership going. They have brought the best of themselves to each other as a promotional team, and it's worked out beautifully. Serrano really intended for her last fight that blew up on her in Puerto Rico to be her last fight. She thought that was going to be it. She wanted that last home fight. She's got business in mixed martial arts. She's accomplished so much in boxing, and she's looking for new challenges. This is the one fight that could keep her in. It's a big hill to climb. She's coming up quite a bit in weight. And I don't recall who said they're both in their prime. I would say they've both just sort of come and coasted over the top of the hill, but they are very evenly matched in that they're both about at the same point, nearer the end of their career than the beginning or perhaps even the middle. So good for them. Big payday. I really wish those rumors about it having been, you know, maybe being in the Sphere in Vegas were true. I would have been all over that. But this is going to get a lot of eyes on them, and it's just nothing but good for boxing.
100%, 100%. Let's go ahead and talk about another fight announcement. This was done right before the fight this weekend. Tank Davis versus Frank Martin. It was already rumored, but it's official now. And on the co-main, it's going to be David Benavidez versus Gvozdyk. Okay, interesting fight card here. Danny Glover, what's your reaction to this card?
Oh, well, I can see this is why you asked me first, because David Benavidez is my guy, so I'm excited. But this is a very risky fight, especially as your light heavyweight debut. He ain't coming in with no soft touch. Gvozdyk could potentially beat him, so this is a very good test. But I guess if you're going to go for gold, you're going to go for gold, because this fight is being billed as the final eliminator. So for the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol, because Turki Alalshikh, His Excellency, says he wants the Benavidez. He obviously is picking Benavidez to win, to fight the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol. Bivol, if he does beat Beterbiev, I believe he will stay at 175 and fight Benavidez. And the thing is, if Benavidez manages to beat Bivol, which he says he had the better of the sparring, that will kind of cement to most of the public, oh, so this is why Canelo didn't want it, because Bivol just dealt with you quite convincingly, and Benavidez has done him. So okay, now we know, yeah, Benavidez is the man. Beterbiev, I believe if he wins, he will probably go up to cruiserweight and fight probably Zerdo or Duarte. But yeah, and then when it comes to the Tank Davis fight against Frank Martin, that's a very good fight, because Frank Martin, he can box. Yeah, we saw last time out he had a bit of a stakeout with that Armenian guy, the Olympian. But yeah, it's a good fight. We know with Tank, if you get caught by him, you're going to be in serious trouble. But Frank Martin, he does have good boxing skills, and this is a serious card. I know I don't really like all this pay-per-view thing for every show, and I know in America you guys get ripped off a lot. They charge you an arm and a leg every single time out. But this is a good double-header card. So I can understand PBC. They need to pull out the big guns now, because boxing on a lot of stations are doing big things. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this doubleheader. Hopefully they put some more decent fights on the card as well. Don't just leave it as two. You need to stack these cards out now, because we're getting spoiled nowadays with these other cards. So Al Haymon, you need to keep up now. We're in 2024. But yeah, good first 2 fights announced. I'm happy.
All right, Joe B, what do you make of the announcement of this doubleheader?
Well, it was rumored to be happening for a little while now, and I'm still skeptical if the Benavidez fight's going to happen. They're saying it's going to happen now, but I don't know. I still have a feeling that fight's not going to happen, and Canelo and Benavidez are going to get it on later in the year. But that's just my conspiracy theory. The Tank fight is okay. It's not a bad fight, but once again, pay-per-view. A lot of fans aren't going to be happy about that. I don't think it's a pay-per-view quality fight. It's a solid fight. I don't know if Frank Martin can pull it off. It'll be interesting to see Tank coming off his layoff, coming off the situation that he just had to deal with. But yeah, it's a solid card. Again, it's just not a fabulous card. It's a like a C. It's a C card for me.
Dave, does Frank Martin have a shot in hell against Tank Davis? And do you think that Benavidez fight is going to go through with Gvozdyk?
So interesting enough, I've seen Frank Martin, though I'm not a fan of him particularly. I've seen him fight 3 times here in Las Vegas, and I don't give him a chance at all to to withstand the power of Tank Davis. What's interesting to me above everything is that you were able to get both Tank Davis and David Benavidez 2 stars in their own right to co-feature. I mean, this is going to sell out nearly almost immediately. I'm telling you guys, David Benavidez is a draw in Las Vegas. I've seen it with my own eyes. He is a legitimate draw and has his own fan base. And with Tank Davis as the main event, so you bring in the celebrity factor, this is going to be the hottest ticket this summer in Las Vegas. They will have no problem selling out the T-Mobile Arena in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, okay? Main event, I expect Frank Martin to get knocked out. The co-main, wow. I'm excited for David Benavidez. I'm glad that he finally gave up pursuing the Canelo Alvarez lottery ticket, and he's writing his own history. He's chasing his own legacy and taking on a very dangerous guy, Gvozdyk, a guy that ended the career and put that fighter. What was his name, guys? Help me out here. He was the world champion from Canada.
Adonis Stevenson.
Thank you. What he did to Adonis Stevenson, my God, he's a very despite being a little bit older and having stepped away from the ring for a few years now, he's a very dangerous opponent. Yes, they know each other, but a very dangerous introduction to the 175-pound division, and a lot at stake. The potential for him to fight the unified winner between Beterbiev and Bivol. Hey, this is going to be I think just those 2 athletes on the same card speaks volumes, and I think it's going to be a big draw this summer in Las Vegas. I'm excited. I'm going to do my best to be there.
Tony Yale says Gvozdyk is 40 years old, so I'm 40 years old. What are you trying to say, Tony?
So is Beterbiev. So is Beterbiev, right?
No, it's 37.
Let me
it's 36 or 30. Yeah, something like that. He's not. Okay.
If I was, if 25-year-old D-Style is right here, right? I tell him, you can fuck with me. 40-year-old D-Style whoop your ass, boy.
Right, take it easy.
Take it down right now, right? 25-year-old D-Style he'll tuck his tail between his legs and he'll walk away from me right now.
Let's not do these fantasy matchups between yourselves.
Okay, I'm just putting that out there right now, okay? But I just say. And then on the inside, I'd be saying, "Thank God he didn't hit his elbow." You know what I mean? But that's it. Shout out, hey Christine, Frank Martin. If he wins this fight, Derek James is trainer of the year, right? I gotta ask you that. If he wins this fight, trainer of the year, Derek James. You gotta give him his credit. You gotta give him his credit, Christine. If they get this win, right? And what do you think of David Benavidez' fight?
First of all, he's not going to win. I think he's been very lucky to get these opportunities, in my opinion. Like he has. Like he must have like a lucky 13, like somewhere in his whatever. So rumor has it that Spence and AJ left Derek. I don't know if that's true or not. He had Ryan. Great. Kudos. Can he do the same thing with Frank Martin that he did with, or whatever he did or did not do with Ryan? I don't think so. Do I think he's going to win? No. And actually, I'm not a betting woman, but you know what? I might bet on that fight. I don't think that Martin has a chance in hell. I don't. I'm not a fan. He's older. He's not as talented as some of the young bucks that are coming up. I don't even know why we would pay for this fight, but obviously I will because I'm a boxing head. Yeah. So without saying too much more negative, that's all I gotta say.
And that's the bottom line. Because
But David
Christine said
Benavidez,
so.
you know what? Yes, I'm glad he's not chasing Canelo. He's just like, okay, what's next? Give me the purse, give me my bag, let me do what I do, let me show y'all. Will he ever get that fight with Canelo? I don't know. But you know what? I'm there for it.
Let me ask you this, Christine. If the fight's offered to him for September, you think he pulls out of this fight? To fight Canelo in September?
I mean, how much would the money be? I think so. Yeah. Why not? Money talks, right?
Or take both fights, June and September. Get yourself.
This could be a tune-up, honestly. Really.
Okay. I see how y'all doing, my guy. Logic. Okay. I see. Because he's 40. Is that what it is? Is it ageism? Is this what's going on right now?
For men, like women, we have like a bigger window. Because we haven't taken as much like beating and destruction, whatever. But like for the men, I kind of worry.
Because the men are too busy taking care of the women, and that's why y'all live longer. That's really what it is.
Bye.
Keep it honest, you know what I mean?
But
but Ryan O'Hara, talk to us. What do you think of this doubleheader?
Huh? What was that? Sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
Yeah, what you think of the doubleheader?
I like it. I don't like that it's a pay-per-view. Frank Martin has no chance against Tank. It's just a bad stylistic matchup. People who have success against Tank, they have to put Tank on the back foot. Frank Martin doesn't throw enough punches to put him on the back foot. Tank's gonna wreck him. It'll probably take him a little while because of the ring rust, but he's gonna catch Martin with something, and it's gonna be an ugly knockout. Even Rolly Romero was able to put Tank on the back foot. Ryan Garcia was able to put him on the back foot as well. But the thing is with Ryan is that he overextends with his punches, and with Tank being one of the smartest counter punchers in boxing, that was also a bad stylistic matchup. As soon as Ryan started making mistakes, he started getting caught a lot. But going back to the card, the Benavidez fight is actually going to be very interesting because Gvozdyk is 37, but he's a fresh 37 and a very active 37-year-old. And the way that Benavidez will have to win the fight, Gvozdyk likes to use the ring, likes to use his jab, landing crosses and hooks from a distance. He's gonna have to cut the ring off, and I think his work with Guillermo Rigondeaux on footwork and cutting off the ring will. I don't know if it's gonna work. From the training sessions that I've seen, looks like he's having a little bit of difficulty trying to adjust, but that's why you train. So he's trying to fight a little bit differently. And if he's able to land a lot, attack Gvozdyk's body and break him down that way and get him in a stationary spot, I think that's how he can turn the tables in the fight. But it is a very risky fight, especially if, a Canelo fight might be on the horizon. But, excuse me, I expect Benavidez to get the win anyway. If it goes to the distance, I don't think Gvozdyk's going to get a decision.
All right. Okay. Gail, what do you make of this doubleheader here?
It's a smart card. Is it going to be a massive moneymaker or draw a lot of fans? Maybe not. But all these guys in the main and the co-main are investing in their future. They're staying busy. Big plus in my book, right there, no matter what happens. They're taking fights instead of sitting around and waiting. There is no reason that Benavidez can't do this fight in June and come back in September, and he'll be fresh. Activity matters. If we have learned anything in the last year, come on, activity matters. And yes, Gvozdyk is a veteran, but remember, Gvozdyk retired after the Beterbiev fight. Flat out retired. He went back and got himself another college degree. He was working in business, and the itch came over him and he came back in. So he fought 3 times in 2023, very quietly. He had a fight at the Fairplex in Pomona. That's the fairgrounds, for Pete's sake. He fought buried on the Canelo Ryder undercard in Guadalajara and got a very nice knockout, and fought again in September. So he actually has fewer professional rounds than Benavidez does. And he was ahead on the cards until Beterbiev caught him. So that's a good fight. I've seen a lot of comments here. Thank you all, you guys. A very active chat going on. It's been great. Asking, why is Benavidez the co-main? It's because he's coming up to light heavyweight for the first time. So non-title fight. I think it's a 10-round fight. Don't quote me on that, but no, I take that back. It is a 12-round fight, but the title holder is getting the main, and the pairing is very smart because that's two different fan bases: Tank's fan base and David's fan base. And maybe alone they couldn't fill T-Mobile. Split it in half. 12,000 plus fans for Tank, 12,000 plus fans for David. It'll be full. And it'll do enough pay-per-views to pay for itself. It'll zero out, and it's an investment in the next fight for both guys.
And Gvozdyk is also the only man that's been knocked out by Beterbiev 3 times. Because he got knocked out twice in the amateurs. Poor guy.
Hey, by the way, is this true? Rayo de los Santos 2 is on the card?
I haven't seen that, but
I don't know if that's true now, but if it's true, that's a good fight. But I'm not questioning the guy in the chat. I'm just saying I haven't seen this. Like, I don't know. But speaking of PBC, speaking of, not that we've even mentioned it, but I'll just say it, of Saudi Arabia. Turki Alalshikh made a post that almost broke the internet, and there's so many mixed reactions about it. About him, he said, "I'm talking to Al Haymon." What do you think this means, and what impact do you foresee it having in the sport? Let's give us some example. I saw somebody tweet out, "This is horrible. PBC's going to fuck that up for everybody." But hey, it just is what it is. Joe Beeb, let's start with you, brother.
There's a lot of PBC derangement syndrome out there. Again, like, I don't like everything they do or agree with everything they do, but boxing's been boxing for decades, and PBC didn't create some of the woes that we have in boxing today. They haven't helped it, but they haven't created it. I was very excited to see this, and I think Turki Alalshikh really mentioned that he's interested in Crawford and Canelo and Eddie Reynoso. They said that they've been reached out to and spoken to by Saudi. So this seems like it's been in the works for a little while, and it was very great to see Turki Alalshikh put this out there and finalize it for everybody. So I don't see how this could be a bad thing, given the track record of Turki Alalshikh and what he's done so far and what he's going to do in the upcoming months. What a monster upcoming months we have, and we have to thank Turki Alalshikh for a great deal of that. So I can't be nothing but excited and happy for this.
All right. Gail, what do you make of this news that Turki Alalshikh tweeted out, and what impact do you foresee it having on the sport?
Well, it's a good matchup. I'm happy to see these matches being made. It's really no secret about Crawford and Madrimov. Madrimov's a favorite of Turki Alalshikh. He's now a full-fledged champion. He also happens to be a Muslim fighter, so that's a very nice piece of the puzzle. And before Crawford goes after any bigger foes that we could name, Madrimov's a perfect challenge with a belt on the line and good money. So it makes enormous sense. I am one of those few people who, while acknowledging that it's great to see all these fights being made, and I'm happy that the fighters are getting good money. It's a very dangerous, very risky sport. They work hard for it. I never let it leave my mind what is going on with the efforts by the Saudi government to buy the goodwill of a lot of the rest of the world, especially the Western world. They have some very specific aims for this. They, without any shame or hesitation, introduce leaders on stage announcing these fights who run, to be very blunt about it, murderous regimes. Someone like me, I will never cross that border. Never, ever. I have 3 major strikes against me. American, woman, journalist. Never going to happen. So this is sports washing at its finest. But boxing isn't alone in this. It's happening in golf. It's happening in soccer. It's happening in auto racing.
Yeah.
The money's there. And you do legitimately have a big fan in Turki Alalshikh. By the way, August 3rd, the evening of, which of course will become the morning of August 4th there. August 4th is his birthday. Happy birthday to me, Turki. So, you know, I enjoy it with a bit of a heavy heart and concerns. And someday, I imagine he's either going to move on to conquer other arenas, the money is going to run out, or the interest is going to run out. And then what are we left with? A big, big, big boxing hangover, a bad one. So I'm seeing a big crash on the road ahead. And I hate to be Miss Debbie Downer over it. I'm not enough of a, you know, I admit to some hypocrisy because I'm watching the fights, I'm enjoying the cards, but I think we also need to be very, very clear about the cons as well as the pros and the geopolitical implications of all of this stuff at the same time.
And shout out to Mauricio Suleiman, who says he fights for the cause and all this other stuff, but when it comes to the Saudis, I mean, doesn't seem to care. You know what I mean? Shout out to him.
I will also add this.
Sure.
Do we all have to call him His Excellency? Seriously? I mean,
no.
How much more do we need to kiss that man?
Guys like Joe Habib, like do it, but not me.
I will never call him that. I will, unless it's with sarcasm, I'll use his name, be respectful, you know, to that point, but please.
And of course, I just want to say this. I'm going to call him what Big Baby Milk, Brother Turkey. Yeah, there you go. Hey, Brother Turkey, how you doing? You know what I mean? I'm just going to put that out there.
You know, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. But seriously, is a doctor going to clear Abner Ramirez? Are we kidding? My God.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Hey, Ryan O'Hara, Turki Alalshikh, PBC. You know, he's working with Al Haymon. Are you optimistic, pessimistic? How are you feeling about it?
I'm kind of in the middle because, you know, Al Haymon kind of likes to run the show. It's like, hey, you know, it kind of reminded me of the whole investor thing with Terrence Crawford. I still don't know, you know, what investors he was talking about, you know, with BLK Prime. But, you know, apparently they were offering a lot of money for the Spence Crawford fight initially. And Crawford was like, hey, I have these investors. And Haymon was like, well, they don't work with me. So, yeah, nah, you're going to work with me and me only. So it'll be interesting to see if Turki Alalshikh is able to get, you know, some sort of deal to work with Al. So I'm optimistic about it, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, you know, Al likes to be on his own island. So it'll have to be a really, really special deal for Al to, you know, reach across the table and have someone work with him. So, you know, we'll see. And I'm kind of with Gail. I don't think I'll ever call him His Excellency, but maybe I'll have to because, you know, I'm a part of the video game with Undisputed and everything, and Riyadh Season is sponsoring it. So, you know, if there's a special request, I guess I may have to oblige.
Would y'all call me His Excellency? Like if I requested this, you know, as a host of the roundtable?
I will call you Dragon Style.
You know, His Dragon Style. You know what I mean? His Excellency Danny Glover, I call upon you. What are your thoughts on this fight, brother?
The Terrence Crawford Madrimov fight, yeah, if it comes out on Wednesday, which I imagine that's going to be a very good fight. As far as the other announcements, I noticed us seeing Ben Whitaker, who you guys might be familiar with over here. He's out in New York at the moment. I see him in the Gleason's gym with Mr. Blimp, and Ben Shalom's out there. So it wouldn't surprise me if somehow they're going to try and get into the dance because they've been left out of the party in the UK front the whole time. Al Haymon, it doesn't surprise me he's going to have to swallow his pride and do a deal with Turkey because his fighters are leaving him one by one. So, you're not giving your fighters no activity. You're not getting much dates. You're going to have to swallow your pride because your fighters are leaving you because you're going down the pan little by little. And, I see the LDBC crew, they're just taking a hiding every week. So they're gonna have to fix up. So yeah, Al, I know he likes to be on his own line and be his own boss, but hey, it's not looking good over at PBC Island. So he's gonna have to do some deals and work with some other promoters. And the thing is, I know, Gary, you're saying when the money dries up or the interest dries up, what will happen to boxing? I know maybe in America it might be, doom and gloom or something bad might happen. But I think with this new bromance with Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, I think even if the money and the interest dries up, I think what they'll do in the UK market is just work together to sponsor the fights together and just work together and get their fighters fighting each other and just make it that way. It just eases up the costs and keeps the fans interested because I think they realize this actually works, them working together rather than fighting against each other, keeping these guys on this side of the street and that side of the street. I think they'll realize, you know what, this works. And I know that with Eddie Hearn, he's actually really good friends with Frank Warren's sons, George Warren and Francis Warren. So that'll be like the next gen. They're the guys who are really doing the work behind the scenes. Obviously, they use Frank as the face of Queensbury because he's done it for so long. But they're the guys who are actually making the deal moving and shaking. But one of them will step out to the forefront. So UK wise, even when the Riyadh stuff ends, if it does, I think UK will be okay. And I think Australian boxing is getting pushed well as well. They've got a lot of good fighters coming through. I do worry for the American market unless some of the promoters do start to use that model of working together rather than against each other, because that way you can get better fights and you'll probably, it's better to make a little of something than a whole lot of nothing and work at a loss. Sometimes it's okay to break even or just make 2%, 5% over what you put in. So interesting time indeed.
And you were reminding us about a point that I like to make. So thank you, that America is not the center of the boxing universe. Boxing is still a major, major sport in the UK, in Mexico, in the Asia Pacific region. The United States is becoming a minor player. Boxing's very healthy in all those markets. We just saw the argument erupt over Sean Porter's remarks about Naoya Inoue coming to the US. That is incredibly ignorant. Inoue is the number one athlete superstar in Japan. He has no need to come here when he can fill the Tokyo Dome.
Yep.
What do you need us for?
Oh wait, I have no idea, but is he bigger than Otani?
If it was not for the Mexican American fan base in the United States, boxing would be in even more trouble than it is. That will still flourish. Fights at all levels in the American Southwest are doing well. Look what's happened to the New York market. The fact that this fight over the weekend was the first at the Barclays Center in a long time. The last major show at MSG, it was Taylor and Serrano.
Yeah.
You have club level fights. Luda Bell's grinding along. Dimitri Solida's grinding along. Star Boxing grinding along.
Right.
But the market has changed. And the sooner Americans realize that and eat a little humble pie over it, the better.
All right. Plus, I mean, the U.S. market's got me. You know what I mean? Well, like I could take on a whole country myself. You know what I mean? We're good over here, but
call you His Excellency, though.
That's right. Hey, Dave, talk to us, brother. Well, what do you think of this move? I mean, are you nervous about it? Do you like it? How are you feeling about it?
I feel like there could only be an upswing from the interaction between these two entities. I mean, PBC has had kind of a bloated roster of fighters, of very talented people that can't get. I mean, it's shockingly that Butenis was fighting on Showtime, and yet they couldn't get him the fights, and they couldn't sign him because Al wasn't able to work with him. And yet you have the other side, Eddie Hearn, saying, hey, thank you. I've got the new superstar. We've taken him from you. Angelo Leo, who fights out of Las Vegas, one sole loss to Stephen Fulton, 122-pound champion out of Las Vegas, Angelo Leo, finds himself on Pro Box. And from an impressive performance on Pro Box, now he's going back into a title opportunity with Alvarado Lopez. And yet you couldn't keep him on the roster. You know, so I can only see an upswing of getting these young contenders, this bloated roster, get them an opportunity to fight and fight more often and keep them active and keep them away from potentially going over to Top Rank or Eddie Hearn or Matchroom or other promotional vehicles.
Christine, what do you make of it? Turki Alalshikh, PBC, working together, good, bad. And by the way, I mean, really, Crawford at the old ass Coliseum or like stadium, like, well, why not SoFi Stadium? It's kind of, I don't know, man. Like, he's going through rough times. It seems like to me.
Rough times. What?
I mean, the old Coliseum. I mean, they're not even SoFi Stadium. What's going on?
So, Gail made some great points, some points that I wanted to make. Like, she has 3 things that are against her. I have 2. Just being a woman and being a boxing fan. So, and I'm not a writer, but I'm a boxing fan. Gail also said that I was going to point out, I didn't know about the car racing, but soccer and golf. So obviously money talks and bullshit walks. Okay. Do I think that PBC and Alalshikh teaming up is a good idea? Yeah. Because do I think that he is stupid? No. I think he knows exactly. He could have picked anybody. He could have picked anybody to team up with. And he picked PBC. Why? He sees something. I think it's fabulous. Our guys are going over there. They're making more money than ever before. Am I sad that I can't go or I won't go? Yeah, I am. But you know what? They deserve it. They deserve these matchups. We want to see the best fighting the best. And we want to see them making the most money that they could possibly make, in my opinion. So I'm all for it. I mean, and you know what? Who wouldn't want to be picked by Alalshikh? What promotional company wouldn't want him to say, you know what? It's you. Let's do this. Seriously.
Well, there you go.
Absolutely.
I mean, actually, I think he's working with everybody.
Yeah.
He might just buy the whole thing.
Exactly. Who doesn't want to be picked? Exactly. Work with all of them. Why not? You know, just like Danny Glover said, we need to do that. We need to work together. Absolutely. And the U.S. needs to get on board. I totally agree.
Yeah. And I was telling my fighter, Craig Richards, that, yeah, you got to be screaming, yeah, His Excellency, because he's in the 5x5 on the Beterbiev Bivol undercard. So I was saying, yeah,
I don't know about calling him that. I'm just saying.
Hey.
Alalshikh, what's up, man?
Hey, big up His Excellency.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Just want to thank His Excellency for putting on the roundtable.
Shout out to our sponsor, His Excellency, who sponsored this roundtable show. But he's watching right now, by the way. No, just kidding. But hey, this has been a great show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Ryan O'Hara, Danny Glover, Dave, Christine, Gail, Joe, and of course that other guy called D-Style. Thank you to everybody. This is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. We're out of here until next week, guys, on my channel, D-Style Boxing. See you there.
Good night.